Welcome, Edward. Welcome, Joel. Whereabouts are you, Joel? You going to tell us where you are? We can kind of tell
He's
where
in
you
Tel
are.
Aviv.
I'm at the worst smelling place in Australia right now.
What's wrong with it?
I've literally got 30,000 Indians literally right like over there. Apparently there was like a Hugo Lennon Ozpil's doing a protest there. And I just told him, make sure you take some Mo's plugs because the smell's going to be phenomenal. But I'm not here for the rally. I'm here actually to get ready for the Victorian election. The Indian Prime Minister is here at the moment just trying to secure some of our uranium and some immigration deals and that sort of stuff. So everyone's here right now. Scott Morrison's here and all the Labor MPs are trying to get photo shoots and it's all a bit wanky. So
remind the viewers, what's job has Scott Morrison got again? I know it's got something to do with basically making it easier for Indians to get visas, right? He's sitting on some kind of advisory board around that. Is that right, Joel?
It was actually Scott that mentioned this to us. I can't remember specifically the job, but it's to do with some company to do with helping basically ensure more immigration between the two countries, something along those lines. So
and we'll touch on that story as well from them. There's 500 million investment from the Australian super into India. We'll also, I guess we'll touch on, this been quite a big week in the last week. I mean, America turned 250. That happened recently too. I don't know if we'll do that story, but I don't know if you saw it. But obviously everything that's going on with America, you guys know I love America. I love America. I still got a strong soft spot for Donald Trump. I love the country over there. Now, turning 50 was a big deal. They're the greatest experiment, incredible country. All the things that people could report on leading up to it, everything, all the positives, doesn't have to be a left or right thing. There's so much you could talk about that America has achieved. And they set like a Guinness World Record with the fireworks. What do you think the Washington Post reported on? Does anyone see it?
No.
Was it the reflecting pool? I don't know.
No, it was worse. They basically said, be careful being outside because the smoke from the fireworks will affect your breathing. So that was what they decided to report on with everything happening in America. George interviewed Dr. Mo, Beast from the Middle East. I'd love to kind of spend a little bit of time on that too. Tell us about that experience, George. Keep pushing that around. And also, little video of Trump reacts to the broken ceasefire. He doesn't look very happy. Every time he tries to make a deal, it just seems to get pulled from under him. Whether it's the people around him who are supposing to be his friends or the actual enemy he's dealing with, but no deal seems to stick. I've got a couple of videos for you guys to react to too. But George, let's talk about a little interview with Dr. Mo. I actually shared it, right, George, and I had someone message me and they're like, what's the big deal? And they were kind of asking me about it. And it turns out they're a friend of Mo's.
Oh, okay.
And so I said, oh man, look, watching it, he just seemed, I'll give my take as a viewer. I don't know if you guys have watched it. My initial take was, he actually came across, to be honest, a bit more of a secularist than, say, a staunch Muslim or anyone who had a staunch faith. So I was really surprised. It wasn't what I was expecting. How did you find the interview yourself, George? Were you surprised or how did you think it went?
No. Look, there was a mixture of emotions. One, look, Dr. Mo, I respect the work he's done as a doctor, as a trauma doctor. Going into a war zone, regardless of what side you're on, is always going to be something that takes courage because you could literally get killed at any moment. So, I have a huge respect. And as a guy, he's just a friendly, big, giant guy,
Yeah.
He's a nice guy. I mean, look, I disagree with almost everything he has to say, to be honest, and that's fine. He understands that, and that's kind of the relationship we have, which I think is kind of cool. But yeah, look, for me, it was a big interview because not only is he, one of the biggest faces of the left, he's got quite a large following. I mean, his firsthand involvement with, being inside that war zone. He's a trauma doctor, so he knows how to handle pressure. He's articulate. He's intelligent. So for me to come across and actually do that debate, it took something for me. And I feel like I got what I wanted. And my intention was to expose, not like an expose way, but expose who Dr. Mo is, what he represents, what his ideas are. And during the interview, prod and kind of poke holes, not to kind of cause a debate or a scream match. Because I love debates that, are aggressive and passionate. We saw the Drew Pavlo versus what was his name again? Sorry, I can't forget his name.
Was that with Joel or with someone else?
No, it was Drew. Yeah, with Joel at your studio.
Forza. Will
Forza, yes, yeah. Sorry,
I thought you
Forza.
were
Sorry,
saying
I haven't
Joel
spoke to Forza
I
at
was
all.
just like, oh yeah, that was a screaming match too.
Yeah, see,
Yeah.
I personally don't get much benefit from something like that. So I wanted to just kind of allow Dr. Mo do his thing. At the end of the day, we are definitely on different aisles, but I felt like the mission I had was to allow him to share his thoughts, give my input when I needed to. I felt like I achieved my mission, which was, give a doorway to the left, and something that Charlie Kirk has inspired me. Charlie Kirk let the left speak. He was respectful. Charlie Kirk was a bit more of a debater who liked to kind of slam dunk on people, which I do have that side of me. But for this interview in particular, because it was kind of like an Australian first, besides maybe like what Joel did the SBS, this was like, us actually organically coming together from two different aisles and having a discussion. I didn't want to go too hard. I wanted to make it a safe space for the left to come and talk to the right. And I invite others like Hannah Ferguson, whoever who wants to come on and have a conversation with me. But I feel like when you watch the interview in its full form, you'll see exactly what my intentions are, and I think I definitely got what I needed out of that interview. What about you, bro?
I think
you obviously watched.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy it? Did you understand the nuance of it all?
I did. I mean, I respected the platform that it was. I thought it was good. I'm the same as you. I generally don't go to watch hostile arguments. It's also what I'm not interested in interviewing someone that's kind of in that form anyway. It doesn't really, I don't find it effective. It might get some clicks here and there, but I'm not into it. So I just liked hearing the two sides talk. I thought it was great. I think there'd be a lot of people who aren't happy you did it.
Oh, yeah.
I think I saw that obviously the thumbnail title was something on the lines of the conversation they didn't want to happen. And I very much see that because while, I don't know, I just felt like you guys were able to take opposite sides, but even to his credit, he was respectful in hearing what you said. Even when he kind of was, constantly, and this is no disrespect to him, but constantly proven wrong in a point, he kind of just copped it. And that's actually where I found it a bit weird. I'm like, he's really not, like, he doesn't have these sold out convictions. He's just a nice guy.
Yeah.
That's what I got. And it's not a knock on him. I'm like, my friend said, what was it like? I said, there's just a big softie. I didn't mean like he's, like a pussy. I just meant like he's not that bold, convicted to his faith, or this wasn't what I was expecting. So I just found it a bit like, okay, he sat there, you guys asked questions. I will say I felt like the interview kind of stuck to the level that you just kept it at. I mean, you could have gone a lot harder.
Yeah.
I could see that. But I liked it. I encourage people, I'll put the link in this video, like go watch it. It's a long one. It's covered 2 gym sessions for me. It's about 2 hours long. So
yeah,
it was a long one, but worth it. I mean, because there's nuance on both sides.
Yeah.
It's not a black and white. There is actually a lot of common ground, but it's the undertone of why that ground's there is what was really interesting. I think it gets actually really good about an hour in. This platform gets set, and then you kind of start getting into some Pakistani stuff and some different parts of the world, and it's really good. What was I going to touch on? Do you guys want to go to the Nigel Farage story? Because that's obviously one of the bigger ones. I'd love to hear your breakdown, Joel. I believe I've got the video. Let me see if I can get up on screen for us. Big news for Nigel Farage. How do I share this? Where are we? Share.
Yeah, I mean, for context for people, Nigel has basically had a lot of allegations that he should have declared a £5 million donation before he became an MP, and it's about $10 million Australian, and it's from a crypto guy that's got allegedly a criminal history. And this is what he had to say when they're all trying to force him to resign because of the ethics committee. This is what he had to say.
Now, the issue with my daughter was the final straw. Enough is enough. And I thought over the weekend, what shall I do? I could go out and try and make some real big money. I could go to the USA, where I've got plenty of offers. And then I thought, why should I be judged today or in history in the future by Sky News and their ilk? Why should they be the people that decide my fate when, as I repeat, I've done nothing wrong? I've thought about it hard, And I've decided today I will resign as a member of Parliament for Clacton-on-Sea, thereby forcing a by-election, which would happen, I hope, in short order. No, I've decided that the people of Clacton should be the judges of my actions. This will be a people versus the establishment by-election. It's a chance to stick two fingers up to the entire establishment, to frankly tell them where to go. And that is why I will be putting my name forward to stand in this by-election. I will fight to win. I will fight to continue the political revolution that reform has started. And I would say this to you, the voters of Clacton: if I win, you win. Because if I lose, they win. And we will never, with the two old parties, get the type of fundamental change that we need to fix broken Britain. Thank you.
Yeah, pretty incredible. Any thoughts when you see that, Edward? First thing that comes to my mind, knowing that someone like Nigel is a populist, people love him. I'm more interested in election integrity. What's your thoughts, Edward?
Look, it's a pretty bold move. I think it was something that he'd probably been thinking about for a bit of time. This has been boiling over, as Joel mentioned, this has been boiling, sort of bubbling beneath the surface, and he's needed to consider how to handle it. On one hand, it looks really clever, preempting the inevitable by-election that looks likely to come when the ethics committee, the parliamentary committee get their teeth stuck into it. But on the other hand, now that the establishment of completely every single party have said, yeah, we're not going to run in this first by-election. We probably will when there's another one at the end of the year after the parliamentary committee goes through it. Now it's looking like perhaps it's just a referendum on Nigel Farage himself, and there might be a couple of other candidates, parity candidates, standing. So it looks quite unserious, where he wanted it to be a quite a big show of support. But I think you can twist that narrative pretty cleverly, which Reform have been able to do, which is basically to say, well, hey, look at what the establishment does. They're the ones that have brought these sort of charges upon me. It's the establishment political parties, it's the establishment media that have come after people like Farage, people like Rupert Lowe. I mean, it was only 2 weeks ago that they were calling Rupert Lowe a white nationalist and all of these things across the front pages of supposedly right-wing organisations as well. So it's very unsurprising. And I think Reform have got to prosecute the message, the truth of the matter, which is they're coming down on every single angle to try and stop Reform, stop the influence of Restore as well, because they want to entrench their established power. So I don't know how it'll go down in this particular by-election, what it actually looks like, but Reform and Farage have to paint it, really have to uncover the truth here, which is they've been targeted by a relentless establishment that are working lock in step, and they're standing down. They're not standing a candidate whatsoever. And instead of Farage seeming comical, they need to make sure that that's flipped and the truth is revealed on the matter.
Joel, what do you think? Look, how do you think this plays out for him? What's your gut feeling on how this works for Nigel?
Look, I'm not 100% sure how it's going to play out, but I mean, my view on it is, having spent a bit of time with Nigel on tour, everything he said in that 20 minutes is true. Everything he said, the timeline, how he campaigned for Brexit, how he got out of politics and public life to make money. These are all very real things that I know privately with Nigel. He wanted to make money. That's why he, toured with us in 2022. He was almost of a mind to move to Australia at one point. He had no plans to go back into active politics. He was sick of it. But the problem was Brexit was being bungled, and he was literally forced into it at the last minute in the 2024 election. No one else was going to be the guy to do it. And I don't question his intentions. Now, look, should he have declared the donation? Of course he should have. I think he should have. Was it illegal? Was the legal advice wrong that he got? I don't think it was wrong. I think they interpreted the laws, and if there was any doubt in the way the laws were written, the laws should have been better written. But, I'm not going to just listen to a very good man that is basically on track to become Prime Minister in coalition, hopefully with Rupert Lowe, when these effers in the government are doing worse than that. Not only, forget about $5 million, we're talking hundreds of billions of dollars that they're squandering and getting board positions and having revolving door between the private sector and these MPs in Parliament and ministers that are writing the laws that are making a lot of money for these politicians when they leave. I mean, talk about corruption. I'm not going to let these people moralize to us about who should be running. So look, Nigel, he's not going to please everyone. I think this is the best thing he could do, because at the end of the day, if there's any evidence that this is the wrong thing to do or whatever, I don't understand how an ethics committee is going to come to that conclusion. The law should have been a lot clearer and more black and white on this. And clearly the legal advice was sufficient that he didn't feel it was black and white. But I think that, look, I think that he will win this very easily. Who knows? There might be a second by-election. Maybe the ethics committee said there was wrongdoing and it triggers another by-election. But one thing I'm definitely sick of is the fact that a lot of people on the right in the UK don't recognise that these people want Nigel and his family dead. They want people like Rupert Lowe and his family and the whole team that did that report dead. They need to put their differences aside, not split the vote at the next general election, and actually work together. Because at the end of the day, Rupert Lowe doesn't want Nigel dead. Neither does Nigel for Rupert Lowe. But they've got to be working together. And I think that, this has really crystallized what the media will do to you and your family. He had his daughter stalked by the media. They were going through her trash on her private property, so they were trespassing, and they doxed the address. And so I think what Sky News has done, I haven't seen Nigel this angry before, and so he's had so many attempts on his life, and he truly does want to make a difference. And so I don't know. I look at this and I'm just like, okay, so the guy took $5 million. So for personal defense and whatever, big deal. But I just wish him all the best. I hope he goes well in this particular election campaign, and I hope that everyone can stop focusing on Nigel and actually focus on the country, which is falling apart. So that's my thought. I have a lot of thoughts on it because I've spent a bit of time with Nigel and I really like him, I just think what they're doing to him is really cruel.
Any surprises from either George or Edward that you've got a populist, someone like Joel said, on track to become the next PM, that all of a sudden there's all this heat against it? We're going to see the same thing here on Pauline. We've seen nothing yet. The stuff that will come out against Pauline Hanson, whether it's made up, fabricated, go looking, they've already got it, ready to go. Generally, I think if you sit back and you're not so emotionally engaged and you don't hate a certain candidate and love a certain candidate, a really good tell would be whoever the media goes after is probably who you should vote for currently. Whoever you're being told is evil and the worst and you can't go, that's probably who you need to go for. I was having this conversation today with a friend, even with parties. The party that seems the most divided has probably got the realest people. Well, look at it.
Well, what's
because conservatives still, they seem to have, the problem with conservatives at the moment is because they've got convictions and a backbone, there's some things they're unwilling to compromise on. So there's all this in-party fighting with different parties and stuff. But on the left, there is no real convictions. It's just power and winning and whatever it means. I'll just change my position as long as it means we're going to be in power. On the right, there's so much conviction and truth. They're unwilling to bend the knee in certain areas. So,
if I can just quickly say, it's important to note that Labor's been sitting on this for a while. This is pre-2024. And we need to recognise the fact that Labor is executing, like professionals, a plan. They got rid of Starmer. They're on a timeline. By September, they'll have a new Prime Minister. Starmer will officially resign. He hasn't resigned yet. And we'll have a new Member of Parliament, which is the one that won in Manchester. And do you think they want Nigel to be around? They are executing this on a schedule. They don't want Nigel around when the new Prime Minister comes in, very clearly, because Nigel's the only one with any kind of charisma that can actually attack Labor and actually have any chance of taking this new Prime Minister down. And so I see a very calculated plan that I believe they're going to do to Pauline as well. I think they're sitting on a lot of dirt. They're going to deploy at the right time. And they're clinical. And that's my view of it. And we'll see how that plays out.
When you say, Joel, so he took the money or whatever it is, and your attitude is kind of like, so what, who cares? And I'm with you. Do you think in the same respect that, let's talk about Australia for a second, the stuff that will come out against Pauline Hanson or whoever is going to be that person or whatever it is, the stuff's going to come out. I kind of think most Australians who are on that team are going to go, who cares? We don't care.
Yeah, look, this is the problem. You can't, you've got to have some moral clout. The politicians have screwed this country 10 ways through Sunday. Like if you're going to come to me and say, oh, Nigel got a $5 million donation with no quid pro quo, there's no evidence of a quid pro quo, and he's especially used it for private security, where's the problem? The real problem comes when you get a $5 million donation from a Chinese company that is associated with CCP, and then you compromise Australian state secrets. Or like you end up setting up the AUKUS deal like Scott Morrison did, and then he finds himself on the board of one of the companies in Britain that is a part of the AUKUS deal. Like that, you see what I mean? Like that's what I'm talking about. With Nigel, that is not that. And so I just think that it's not, we should always hold our politicians to the highest accord, but it's all relative as well. And I don't exactly see a lot of accountability of Labor MPs and Conservative MPs. They kind of take care of each other. And so that's where I think the voters look at this just like they will in Australia and say, look, I can't afford rent. My children's education's going down and my mortgage is going up. I think that's what a lot of Aussies are going to be thinking. They're going to say, like, why are you going after Pauline, when you're crashing the country and the economy? And so it is relative, yeah.
Yeah, and on the establishment's threat to Pauline Hanson, they've already tested it out a fair bit in Australia. We've seen it with with GetUp's anti-worker claim, so there'd be focus grouping that. We've seen it with the Gina Reinhardt, the private jet, like coming down on her like a ton of bricks for accepting that. And we've seen it with so-called conservative editors like Paul Kelly, the editor-in-chief of The Australian. I don't know if you've read The Australian in the last couple of months, but it's very different to what it was about 6 months ago. They've come down very, very hard on One Nation and on Pauline Hanson. So you've got people from either side, left and right, of the establishment, which is what's happened in the UK with Nigel Farage on this issue. They're testing it out already, and they're giving a bit of a glimpse of the power that they do have, and whether that's intimidation in the media lens. Like, it is quite intimidating for members of parliament to have their family brought into stuff like this, and it just puts more and more pressure on them to resign, to fall out. Whether it's scrutiny over certain donations, playing it out in the media relentlessly, back-to-back interviews, really hammering home certain talking points to the candidates, and then them not being able to have any fresh air. Like, there's an apparatus, they're well-oiled, they're skillful at it, like Joel said. The Labor Party are the best at it, and they're really good operators. We might not see that the forward-facing stuff because they're terrible at policy and they've got the wrong ideas. But in terms of the infrastructure, I mean, through the union movement, they've got all of the money in the world. They're brilliant at organising. They're great at mobilising people. They're great at understanding on how to really shift people's minds on things, at least for a time, at least at the right time, so that they can pounce and time elections or time strategy. So they're the best to do it, and that'll come down on Pauline Hanson pretty heavily. So I guess we watch on over there as Farage goes through it. But I couldn't agree more with Joel. I mean, I think I don't agree with Nigel Farage. I think he's weak on a couple of things. I think Pauline Hanson and One Nation are as well, and they're not quite there on issues. But you have to understand, if we're really positioning this as a establishment versus the people, that's what's happening here. And Nigel Farage and Rupert Lowe should be on a reform ticket against this. It's something that Connor Tomlinson, one of the prominent political commentators in the UK, has pointed out, that whether or not Restore agree with reform, and obviously they don't, they can't participate in this show trial that is going on for Nigel Farage. Otherwise, they are ceding the ground to the establishment, which are just so uniform. It's like a media release went out, like a memo went out across all of the establishment outlets and the political class to make sure that they were not standing in that by-election. So that's what we're up against, and I hope for the sake of the UK and for Australia that people can unify to some degree against the establishment.
George, my Greek Orthodox friend, just get ready. Drama and politics? How much of this is the drama, the Greek drama and the politics that it's like this tango that go hand in hand? How much of it is drama? How much of it is just going to actually be factual? How do you look at it when you look? Tell us inside the brain of George Mamalis, when you see stuff like this, have you seen it all before?
Well, there's two things that come to mind. And the first thing's going to sound a little bit like of a tangent, but it's super important to understand. The system that has failed us is social welfare. Social welfare has led to a society of weakness, and it promotes weakness. Social welfare means don't have children. It means don't care about your future, where in the past, the future was the children. You know? Now there's no incentive for future children. And also with the left, they want to deploy these tricks and these purity tests. And we saw it with Donald Trump's 2016 election, where they sneakily, leaked the video of Donald said, "grab him by the pussy," and all these things that Trump has said in the past. And you know what happened? It backfired. Because now people are starting to realize that these pure politicians aren't real things. They were manufactured in the 60s and 70s by television and black and white screens and the polished idea of a politician. And that's fading away. I think that the very ideal of a perfect politician is actually ending. I think it's actually going to be moving towards more of the gaming, trolling community. I think the future politicians of this country, the future politicians of the West, will be the ones who are the trolls, the ones who are willing to say it how it is and not actually give a crap. Tropic Thunder style politics is what's coming to Australia in the next 10 to 15 years. So you know what? I'm actually happy for them to start doing this. The more the better, because it will just hurry up the process, because Australia's at the point now, and most Western countries are at the point now, where they don't care if you are Donald Trump and you had sex with a prostitute. They don't care that you said grab him by the pussy. They don't care if you said, I think Indians smell bad or this or that. No one cares anymore. We're over it. We're over this soft shell bullshit. We need that Byzantinian stronghold, Greek style, time to fight back, Anglo-Saxon, Viking shield maiden, Joan of Arc spirit, and it's coming back. And it's going to be a strong force, and the left are not going to be able to deal with it, because at the end of the day, what are the left protecting? They're protecting social welfare, because that's all they have, because they thrive on weakness. They thrive on being weak. They don't want to work. They don't want to get a job. They don't want to build nations. They don't want to have children. They don't want to have families. They want to sit there. They want to be fat. They want to be lazy. They want to be stupid, and they want to be force-fed every single thing in their entire life. They are...
And gay.
And they're gay, and they are the epitome of evil, which is... They are literally the evil of this world. And that sounds really divisive, but all of this, what I'm saying, is coming from a place of love. Because at the end of the day, a strong society, a strong government has the aspects of fatherhood. And what is fatherhood? Fatherhood is the one who says it how it is. Christ didn't come here to be a nice little boy and say, don't worry, God, it's all rainbows and sunshine. No, Christ came here to tell you a message that was so truthful, so honest, that it ended with him on the cross with nails pushed through his hands, with blood gushing out of his body. And that is why we appreciate God doing that, because God came here to fully suffer, because he realized how weak and pathetic humans can be in an evil state. So right now, our nation has to be more activated. It needs to stop doing these purity tests, these softness tests. It needs to start waking up and realize that, you know what? We're all sinners. Nigel Farage is a sinner. Brodie is a sinner. Edward Schuller is a sinner. Joel's a sinner. We are all sinners. No one buys this perfect human idea anymore, because the reality is there's only been one perfect human, and his name was Emmanuel, Jesus Christ himself, and that's it. So we can only be the best versions of that. We can reach towards that. That's what theosis is about. We can get closer to God, and that's it. We got to be the best versions of who we are. And for those people out there, there's a point. If you want to get into politics, you want to get activated, doesn't matter what you've done in your past. I don't care what you've done in your past. There's plenty of stories. You've got people like Spaniard. You've got people like Chocky. You've got people who've had rough past. There are saints themselves who had horrible past, did terrible things, very famous saints who then turned their lives around and did something remarkable, and they were sainted. So anyone can do this. So that's it. The left, I'm sorry, but your time's done, and the next 10 to 15 years belongs to us sinners.
I agree. Amen. And here for the political side of it. I will add too that for people watching, a little encouragement when you're hearing Joel say this stuff's going to come out and George saying it's all been done before. And you mentioned Trump. I mean, a great example, like who's taken the most hits in the last 10 years? You cannot compare. Like Donald Trump he's been accused of rape. He has been impeached, I think, 2 or 3 times when he was in office. The feds went to his house. They went to the president's house, went through his wife's wardrobe. Like he's been shot in the ear. They have done everything they can to take out Trump. They have labeled him a rapist. He actually had to settle recently $5 million, even though it was thrown out. But the way their law system, he still has to give $5 million to this woman who said he raped me and they were never in the same city at the same time or something like that. Donald Trump has taken on more hits than anyone else. And what happened in the most recent election? He won.
Right.
People, and whether or not he's doing a great job or not, that whatever. I would say first and foremost, they've got a semi-secure border, so good start. Whether or not what he's doing now doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They threw everything at him, and the people said, "Oh, we don't care. Like I'm voting for that guy because he didn't come from your system." How they look at it. And I think the same thing will going to happen with Pauline Hanson or someone else that comes in and runs that gauntlet and becomes the torchbearer of that party. They can't. I mean, Labor's vote is what, at 30%? They won the last election with the majority of, not a majority, but a 30% vote or something. So the majority of Australians already don't like them. It's just a matter of getting the other pool big enough to form government. Australians are not going to fall for it, I don't think. However, if one of the parties, like I said, does some major tax reform and people are tricked into believing it's going to happen, that will be the only threat. But I don't think they're going to vote elsewhere because of a tarnish or a hit piece on Pauline Hanson. Go, George.
And just to add on that, you got to remember, you just said that a party with conviction will always win, the ones that are show courageous. Let's be fair here, because there needs to be a distinguishing factor here. The Greens, the left, especially the radical left, they're brave, they're courageous. But the problem is everything they believe in is based in non-realism. It's not based in physical reality. It's not based in common sense. So there's not just the courageous aspects that you need to be. You can be courageous in wanting to eat 100 hamburgers a day. Does that mean that's the right thing to do? No, because if you eat 100 hamburgers a day, you're going to turn into a fatty and you're going to die of a heart attack. So the truth is it's not being just courageous. It's being courageous behind what is the cosmic truth of reality and then being okay with that. And that's the role of the father. The father is there to teach the son or the daughter, hey, daughter, maybe don't wear that dress, or son, hey, maybe don't take those drugs and drink that alcohol, or hey, daughter, maybe you should focus on, having aspirations of family, not just focusing on career. Like that, those are the tough things that the father needs to said. And the government used to do that. The government in the early 19th century, especially during World War I and World War II and after, the government was willing to sit down with its people and say it. Hey, guys, these are the common sense good things we got to do, and we got to survive, and we got to do the right thing.
Keep going, George, with your thought. The government is the father. They've stopped doing that, but they did do it early. Well, I mean, I look at the reasons as to why. There's obviously a global agenda. There's this evil undercurrent coming. Is there more to it than that you see?
Well, no. Well, I would just say this categorically. The last 60 years of politics has been an absolute failure, and I blame many different factors. And I'm even having the conversation around who gets to vote, why do they get to vote for?
Yeah.
And you can see it in the trends. If you look at America, if you look at voting trends between genders, females majority vote left. They are emotional in the way they vote, and they will vote for parties that systematically want to destroy their nations, and because they're all they really care about in the mindset. And this is not all females, by the way. It's just a certain sect, and it's not really their fault. It's because they haven't had the father essence figure to tell them, hey, if you keep doing this, something bad's going to happen. They haven't had that. It's been missing for a very long time. And that's because the idea of social welfare has literally destroyed a fundamental need of humanity. The fundamental need for humans is to survive, is to thrive, is to innovate, to be spiritual, and to do things that you're passionate about. And the problem is when you introduce social welfare into society, it eliminates those needs and creates a docile society. And we, Australia, are the epitome of that. And you see it just in the way our economy is. And I keep repeating this over and over again. We are economy. We are the economy of banks and dirt. That's all this country is now. And no wonder Modi's coming here, because he's laughing, because he realizes India, which is one of the fastest growing, one of the most powerful economies, one of the biggest, it is the biggest democracy in the entire world by population numbers, is potentially going to be one of the competitors of the US, going to be one of the biggest empires. And India understands for it to reach power levels, it needs soft power. And what's a fantastic way of reaching soft power? Injecting millions of their people across the world and creating diasporas and slowly and systematically taking over the world. India should not be underestimated. India is a country with a long history of superior technology, superior war tactics. It takes a lot of tactics to take down India. Even Alexander the Great himself, when going to India, faced significant challenges, and this is supposed to be the greatest military man of all time. So do not underestimate India. People have their eyes too far sometimes on what's happening in Israel or China, but India, they're allies right now, but who knows what they'll be in 20 years.
I agree. Hey, Edward, can you see that there?
Yeah.
Read that and take us through this story.
India welcomes the $500 million investment from Australian Super announced by their chief executive, Dr. Paul Schroeder, this morning in Melbourne. Yet another glimpse of the global confidence in India's growth and reform trajectory. For the viewers at home, that takes Australian Super's total investment in India to $3.3 billion. So this is not the first time they've invested over there. This is one of the things that we've spoken about on this podcast since the last budget, which was very much a super fund budget, as George has coined it, particularly with a US investment backing. But India is, like George said, we shouldn't underestimate them, but it's troubling because we see them, at least on a geopolitical level at the moment, as an ally. I don't think they are. I don't think they're an ally in any same sense of the word that the UK and the US are. They are counterculturalists. They are completely antithetical to our Christian foundation as a nation. I don't think our trade deals are serving us well. We export cheap coal for not a whole lot. That lifts them out of poverty. Great for them. That's a good thing. But we're not getting anything much in return while our power prices go up. So I think the entire relationship with India needs to be rethought. We need to go back to the drawing board because Australians do not want to have this close relationship with India, a foreign country of a foreign religion with foreign customs and a way of life. We're sick of it. We're over it. And we don't want the sort of influence that they're having to grow over our country. But sadly, it is. And their biggest export is their people. Modi, when he came to power in 2014, one of his express purposes was to increase the power of the diaspora across the world and in the Western world in particular. And he's done that in Australia. He's been successful and he's bloody good at what he does. But we need to treat them as the threat to our nation as they are, and that being the Australian nation, the Australian people, because we're going to get more and more trade and more immigration deals done with India if we don't change the trajectory that we're on, and it's going to continue to swamp our country. So this is very concerning. Obviously, everyone meets him with great fanfare, packed out Marvel Stadium. You got the Prime Minister, the Premier as well, and you'll have the opposition absolutely fawning over him as well. It is quite pathetic. So that's the state of politics at the moment. But I think the positive thing is that there's a lot of grassroots frustration at this Indianization of Australia.
I haven't seen this video yet, but I'll just see what Albo's got to say. This is posted. I mean, they're all gleaming. They're all, you go on the X feed, it is just like they're all gleaming and on top of the world. They're like just throwing money at them, importing them. They're just like Scott Morrison's got his job going with his new board, and it's all seems to be working. They're all happy. Australians are like, this seems a bit much. Let's see what Albo's got to say in this video.
Australia's relationship with India has never been more consequential than it is today. We're expanding our relationship across defence and security, education, science and technology, and energy security and critical minerals. While we are separated by an ocean, we are indeed the closest of friends.
Typical Albo. So, I mean, Edward and George, what is the actual threat? When you look at, say, India, what is the simplest way to explain the threat is just the sheer numbers and everything that comes from that? Is that how you see it, Edward?
I think that's the most apparent threat to us as Australians, like the increasing diaspora here in Australia. You've got former prime ministers making it easier for Indian nationals to come into Australia, and I just think we're seeing that they're not integrating. There is still a clear culture in Australia. It's a Christian, it's an Anglo-Celtic one. It's dwindling, but it's still there, and they are completely antithetical to it. So that's our issue there. I think George will be able to touch on the economic side of it more and more. But the amount of Australian money that's being sent offshore is so problematic. And it's not just India, but it's increasingly India. Like if you look at the growth in the trade partnerships, which are all one way, mind you, it outpaces that of comparable countries like the US and the UK that would be happy to have their people for.
I'm sure you said on a previous episode, Edward, that while it's already alarming the numbers that have come, it's only like 3% or something. Was that right?
Yeah,
Is that
so
what you mentioned?
97% of people living in India have never left India. So 3% of the total Indian population in the world is overseas or has been overseas at some time. The majority of Indians haven't even left their country. And you've seen Canada, the US, Australia, and increasingly the UK as well just get completely swamped. And it's an objective of the Indian government. Like this is the Prime Minister of India, and it has been his objective for over a decade now.
Look, on a spiritual level, India is fascinating. It's beautiful. It's got talent, sure. But at the end of the day, they are pagans. And if you go deeper into Indian spirituality, it's quite demonic. And there are even places in India where they even practice cannibalism still. There's videos of them spreading human ashes on people's faces. They eat human meat. They dance. And I mean, why am I bringing it up? Well, any country that allows that as a practice, you got to ask serious questions on how that reflects on everything else.
What's wrong with that? Multiculturalism, what's wrong with that?
Well,
what's wrong with that? That's fine.
Well, look, each to their own, right? But I'm just saying. You're
a racist, George. You're a racist.
I am a racist. I'm the biggest racist. But, the reality is I hate most races because sometimes these races, you got to remember, we've evolved over 700,000 years. And at the start of evolution of 700,000 years ago, us as Homo sapiens were quite brutal things. We eradicated many, many different subspecies of humans, from Homo erectus to the Neanderthals. Like, we are a brutal race. And it took us becoming more advanced in terms of our spiritual understanding and becoming closer to God over many, many, many thousands of years to get to where we are now. But you do have places around the world that their cultures still embrace their old pagan ways, their old, cultural ways. And, it's fine to look back at history and be fascinated by it and be inspired by it and use it for art and movies. And sure, there's plenty of beauty in that, even like recollection. But I'm just saying, when a government allows that kind of behavior to still exist within its own country, you got to ask deep, fundamental questions. What kind of government allows that? And also, if you talk to a lot of Indians, especially ones here in Australia, and you ask them, why'd you leave India? Because, you ask them, they all love India. Most of them will say they love India. It's got the greatest medical system. It's got great cities and all this stuff. And I've even had a friend recently come back from India, and he actually loved it. So it's not like India is this like hellhole. Like India does have... it's a superpower. It's a nuclear superpower. They have nuclear warheads. They have sophisticated technology. They recently, they went to space. I think they went to the moon, right? It looked like some sort of, 2D print false, moon landing, but apparently they still went to the moon. So like not... Well, I don't know. But, and India, you don't forget, India have supposedly some of the fastest ballistic missiles in the entire world. They have, so they have really advanced technology. They're not to be stifled with. But more than that, it's not just the fact that they're just importing people everywhere. It's that India, like any other country that is like on the edge of becoming a superpower, has ambition. India is an ambitious, dedicated country. They have always been, like, if you look back at their thousands of years of history, they've always had vast empires. They've always had connections with the Persians, the Chinese. They've always been a sleeping giant, just like the Chinese. Like, I called the Chinese the sleeping dragon. And they're lucky for us, the Chinese decided to go with more of a Taoistic way of being. Spiritually, they've taken on, we will just leave the world alone, and through soft power we will win. let things be. That's the Chinese method. You don't see China really going in and invading things. They kind of just softly take over, and they do it over hundreds of years. I don't care. They're willing to wait thousands of years to make sure they maintain their power. India, on the other hand, are very proud people, and they're very sophisticated people, and don't underestimate them. Of course, you have their bottom 2%, but like any bottom 2%, are terrible people. Like, you know, I used to work in the fashion industry, and I used to hear stories of models who used to go to India, and they couldn't survive a few days there because I'd just get raped. Like, there's no respect for females in certain parts of India. Like, there's a huge problem. And I think statistically, you can fact check me here, maybe on Grok or something, but I think India is like either ranked number 1 as most racist country in the world and has the highest rape desires in the world as well. So
definitely one of the highest per sexual assault, for sure.
Yeah. So look, there are some deep rooted problems. And let's not forget, economically speaking, India is a country of rich versus poor disparity. The gap between the rich and the poor there is astronomically unfathomable, how disgustingly big that gap is. So it is definitely an old world country coming to power, and we should be definitely worried. You know, I'm all for trade economically. Like, of course, if Australia has economic opportunity, we should definitely take advantage of it, but it has to benefit Australia first. This can't be some sort of like, let's do a deal with India so they win. Let's send them our uranium so they can build more nuclear warheads. Let's send them more iron so they can build more military bases around the Indian Ocean. It should be that we sell them stuff that benefits us and that we actually profit from. And they also benefit, of course, but it needs to be an Australian first trade model. It needs to economically benefit Australia, not just be Australia's another bitch to India, like we are a bitch to the US, like we are a bitch to China. I'm sick of Australia being bitched around, and, you know, enough's enough.
Go on, Brodie. Show us your memes.
I just wanted to show you this because I came across this yesterday. I was preparing for a video we're talking about multiculturalism. And so I was trying to paint the picture of that not all cultures are equal. They don't all come together, and you can't all have it. And I've got people in my DMs, like family members, who are like, any culture can come here. And I came across this video. Now, there's nothing wrong with this guy. I just want you to imagine that there's people in your guys' friend circles as well, at least people around you within your existence who would think that this is totally okay. This isn't violent. This is just out there, right? And so I saw it. It kind of made me laugh. I was like, imagine you see this in your street, and it's a matter of time before you see things that are worse and violent. But this is...
Respect.
Pretty jacked.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on?
I've got mog, bro. This guy's mogging me with his teeth.
Wood chip mogging you. But yeah, I mean, this is the thing though. Like, we aren't against... It is a good thing.
Here's what I'll say.
That's what happens when you don't eat sugar.
Prepare your thoughts for a second. I am all for, we do a little trip and we go there and we go, wow, man, that's incredible. I don't know what you're doing or what that represents, but I can't do that, and I respect that you can do that. This is your house. You play by what rules you want. But I'm not okay if we were to start doing trade deals with wherever this is, and we start bringing that in, and then we don't tell them the rules of our house.
Well,
like, there has to be this like incredible intentional way to integrate. That culture is completely different to our culture. It's just a simple way to say, hey, not all cultures are the same. I could have showed you a video where, you know, there's cannibalism going on.
Right.
This was a light-hearted way to say there's people that are out there that are different. They're not all going to fit in to living in Bondi or Coogee.
Brodie, to be honest, that video you just showed me makes me disappointed. Like, Australians should have teeth with that level of strength. The problem is we eat so much sugar, we eat so much goy slop, that now we can't go around and just start grinding our teeth against trees. That guy tooth mogged us, bro. Like, now what am I supposed to do about that?
Okay, next video. This is okay.
Point being, bro. That is the beauty of nationalism. So you can have these good, distinct cultures, distinct peoples apart, separate. You can go visit, go on holiday. It's fantastic. We don't want that there, and we wouldn't be comfortable ourselves being over there, and we don't want them here either. Nationalism, it's a beautiful thing.
Next video. This is just a little reaction to some videos I've seen as we wrap up the episode. This is some of Avi's recent work. I enjoyed this stuff. I like it when Avi goes out the street and does this stuff. I don't like it when he's picking fights with everyone on the right, and I just think, just do your thing. But watch this father. You were talking early in the episode, George, about the role of a father. You were referencing God, our Father, but also the government, the father, or the father in the household. Have a look at this father.
I'm here to stand up for my trans son.
Biologically, your daughter originally and
No,
transition.
My son. He will always be now as my son.
Okay, but he was born biologically your daughter?
He was born my son. Now he is my son.
It's really hard to have the conversation when we can't actually just interact with biological reality.
But the thing is, though, what is reality? We're only taught these things. They're just concepts.
Biology is not just a concept. If he gets into a car accident, God forbid, and the ambulance asks, can you get pregnant?
He would answer yes, because he's still proud of who he is, though.
He says he's not a man. Like a man can't get pregnant.
But that's your version of a man, though. But that's...
And I am having...
this thing, press, that's not... What is that? That's not even real press. You're not real press.
You're saying he's not allowed to identify as press, but your daughter can identify as a man.
My son...
See how that works, guys?
I wanted to go back and just reference. This is just a father, and he was arguing with Avi, and Avi was saying, "Why are you here?" And he was like, I'm here supporting my trans son." And so he's like, "Oh, so your daughter?" He's like, "No, it's my son." And when I saw it, it was actually about the demeanor of the guy. He just looked like he was under a spell. I'll try and hopefully I can make this edit work, and so that people can watch the video. But the guy just looks like he's under a spell. He's just this broken dad, and Avi's being pretty respectful. Like, honestly, he's very light-handed with him. He's like, "You mean your daughter?" And this guy's like, "No, it's my son. It'll always be my son." You know, he goes on to double down. He could get,
I think
whatever.
he really wanted a son.
But who knows what he wanted. But the fact that the demeanor is like, man, these people are under a spell. And there's just so many undercurrents going on the other side of politics. And it was just another thing that highlighted, man, this stuff, even though we're not talking heaps about trans at the moment, it's still very much out there. It's probably growing. You're just not seeing in the headlines as much. But yeah, that was the point of that video. Well, I think I had one more for you, unless you got something to add, Edward.
Yeah, well, it's just demoralizing. Like, people are just, and this is the spiritual aspect as well. The fact that something as simple as being a boy or being a girl can be confused and really believed to the absolute nth degree by so many people. Like, this is a spiritual battle. It is the ultimate, I think, sexual perversion of our time, is literally perverting sexes. And what we've seen is people who love their family members, in that sense, just unwilling, unable to do the act of will, which is truly love, and stand up for the truth. And it's demoralizing, but I think there is clearly something spiritual to it. As you'll see, like, you'll talk to these people and it'll just glaze over their eyes. It's heartbreaking.
All right, one more video for you. Have you seen this one? Can you see it on the screen?
I can see it, but I don't think I've seen this.
Following you doing a direct reading from the Bible, we had the following: if you continue to commit your wickedness, okay, evidently aimed at the crowd here, continue to commit your... No, it's not about what you read from the Bible. The Bible was closed. If you continue to commit your wickedness, you will not enter into the kingdom of God.
It's not aimed at a particular people. I'm
implying
preaching to everyone. I'm preaching to everyone.
Given the crowd around,
I'm preaching to everyone.
Fine. Doesn't matter if you preach to everyone. Given the people that are around, that is tipping in.
But there's straight people here as well.
Doesn't matter.
There's straight people here as well.
Really aware of people.
I'm allowed to preach in public.
To commit your wickedness.
Yeah.
Preaching is like preaching.
I preach to the wall.
We are implying.
I preach to the wall.
I take it that you're implying that
that's your interpretation. The Bible says what the Bible says. The Bible says what the Bible says,
bro. One warning. I've already warned your other preacher. Okay, we go down it. We are now looking at a point where
I'm actually look, brother. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna wait. No. Actually, just stay there. Just stay there. Because I'm gonna be honest with you. You're not interested in what's in the Bible, but you're interested in naked people walking around. You're not interested in what is the Bible. You're not interested in what is in the Bible, but you're interested in the sins of the world. And the Bible clearly states that these things are sin. If you're not going to allow me to practice my freedom of speech, my friend, I don't want to go to court. I don't want to go to court. I want to show mercy. But I'm showing you now, we have, by the grace of God, top Christian lawyers, and I'm telling you, this is a battle that is not worth going through. This is a battle that's not worth going through. Hallelujah. You're distracting my preaching. They're distracting my preaching, honestly. Oh, I read straight from the Bible and my man's coming and stopping me. Hallelujah. Thank you, brother, man of God.
How does that make you feel, George, when you see that? The UK is a mess. Honestly, the UK is a mess. Similar stuff has happened here in Australia recently. If you remember that guy at Harbour Bridge? He just had a sign up, I think, that said Jesus is Christ is King. And they came after him and spent 25 minutes trying to get a response out of him. I loved how he basically said, hey, I want to show mercy, but at the end of the day, like, I got lawyers.
Look,
I kind of loved it. I'm like, let's go. And he got his microphone out. What do you think, George?
Look, this is a very strange. This is the take I will look from this, right?
Go.
This man, the preacher, is being the best version of who he wants to be. But at the end of the day, every man and every woman has their own soul, has their own divine truth, right? And they will express that. You can never convince someone, really. You always have your own individual thought. You always have your free will. That's one thing God gave us, was free will. At the end of the day, you, me, and I are conduits. That man is a conduit, and he will share and he will touch the souls of certain people. But at the end of the day, you cannot change someone's mind. You can only be there for them with love. And that is what preaching the gospel, preaching the Bible is all about. You're not necessarily brainwashing people. It's not like you're sitting there psyoping people. The soul will speak to itself and the soul will understand. And when you talk about things like transgenderism and that father and the way that media is and stuff, you open up portals of evil and you open up portals of demonic entities that allow basically them to take control of people and take control of their mind. But God still gave us free will, so you can conquer those things. So that's why it's important. It's very important, no matter what you see on social media, that you need to pray and go internal, because that's all you can do, be the best version of yourself. If this whole world collapsed, right, just like kind of what happened with Noah, have faith that God will be there, have faith that Christ is there for you, and keep praying, because that's all you can do. At the end of the day, that is what the Orthodox Church represents. It is the stronghold of what Christ represented. Christ said that Christ defeated this world already. The world is gone. And Christ showed mercy. He reached his hand down into Hades and asked the rest of the world, the rest of the people before him, I'm giving you the opportunity to come back to me again. So it's an important message, I think, that we need to really get back onto, because people are forgetting, because it's not going to be up to Edward to save the world. It's not going to be up to me to save the world. It's up to Brodie to save the world. The only person that's going to do it is you. So that guy, that's what he gets from me. That's the kind of inspiration I get. You know?
Yeah, God bless that guy. And I just can't help but think it's awesome that he's doing the Great Commission and not the Great Omission, which is being a monk out in the deserted. Sorry, George, I had to do the cheap shot. But no, God bless that guy. And it does remind me of one verse in particular. And he overcame it. Like in that clip, you can see the persecution coming upon him. And then there are many people in that city. But James chapter 1, verses 2-4, consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. I think that's a great testament. I couldn't agree more with George. It's the Spirit that convicts. We are just instruments for it. And God bless that man for doing so. But yeah, it's a great reflection of the state of the UK. And I guess that's what you get when the King says he's the defender of the multi-faiths rather than of the Christian faith.
Yeah, absolute disgrace.
I had a few more of the stories I wanted to go through, but I think we'll save it for now anyway. But anything else to add? Are you guys comfortable to wrap it up there? Thank you for those watching all the way to the end. If you haven't already subscribed, go George. Something to say?
I've just uploaded a podcast. So you're probably watching this tomorrow or whatever. But I just did an interview with Chantel Thomas. It's a really fantastic interview. You really get an insight into who One Nation's candidates are here in South Australia. Obviously, we have one of the biggest One Nation, parties here. So, it's very inspiring to hear all these great Christian candidates coming through who have a strong faith, and it's a fascinating watch. So, yeah, it'd be great for you guys to get around Chantel, and she really is maybe the future of One Nation. So let's definitely get around her and appreciate what she's up to in Parliament in South Australia.
I'll also add too the Dr. Mo interview, definitely worth watching, guys. And also, you've just done another one with Lisa Spencer, which was like fun too. I'll tell you what, listen to that one. I can't believe she was on Kill Tony, by the way.
Yeah,
like her first time doing stand up or something.
Yeah, no, second time ever doing stand up was on Kill Tony.
That is for anyone who knows Kill Tony and knows what it is to be a comic, and then to go to America and do 4 days of stand up and then end up on that show is just incredible. So you've done a very different mix of interviews, but they're all worth checking out. Edward, what have you got coming up anyway? Have you got any speaking engagements, any articles, any Andrew Hastie's fights? What do you got on the cards?
I'll be writing quite regularly on Sky News. I'll also be holding an event on indoctrination in education in Brisbane on the 6th of August. So a big one there, hosted by the IPA, the Institute of Public Affairs. So that'll be a big one as well. But beyond that, just ticking away, mate. Got a few things on the go now. Started up work with a alternative political CRM as well. So a bit of political software. So in over my head with tech, but it's good fun and it's very useful for advocacy groups, particularly on the right. We're built for patriots, not for the lefties. So if you're interested, hit me up.
Amazing. And keep your eyes out, guys, on my channel because I've working on locking in the date for Pauline Hanson to come on. It's going to be a different interview that you've seen her do with anyone else. That much I guarantee, because I won't be looking for boring policy stuff. I'll be talking about the stuff that no one ever asks. So keep an eye for that. Hey, if you've made it all this way to the end, thanks for watching. Subscribe. Also go to Patreon. That's where you can just get a little bit extra. You can get George saying stuff that's just, you know, you wouldn't know would come out of a human, but he says some stuff over there on Patreon too. It's the parts that don't always make it to YouTube. It might be just not quite YouTube friendly.
No.
Those parts are there. And you know what? It's pretty cheap and it's not about grifting and getting money. It's just because right now we do this for the love of it and it costs us all money to do it. So we appreciate any support. That's about it. Until next time, hopefully you should see myself, Edward, George. Scott will be back from his rendezvous around the world. Never stops, that guy. And also Joel Jammal will stop all his dinners and meets and greets with all the people that we're trying to get rid of in this country. But he's out there, buddy, shaking hands with them. Until next time, thanks for watching. Read your Bible.